his rallies, when you listen to his supporters, they are saying things that are more in line with what he is actually saying and what the other news organizations are pushing. They may be pushing extremes, but still, if you call me a racist and I'm not a racist, I'm going to go out and say I'm not a racist. I'm not going to have people at my rallies talking about, all of this racist stuff and there's a time and a place for anything. The floating garbage thing at the rally at Madison Square Garden. We can say, well, why is that okay? Oh, well, he didn't mean that. He didn't say that, but you have people pushing this agenda who are supporting you. Now we got this Doge thing that they're talking about. And when you talk about, well, they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that. Well, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, they have no place in creating an additional agency that is for efficiency when we already have 2 or 3 that do that job. So it's like, well, if you're not going to do X, Y, and Z, why are you putting people in places that are going to do X, Y, and Z?
Well, see, that's the part what I'm saying. Because if we were sitting here and then if I get invited back again, I'm going to bring some news clippings from other networks outside of, like, I think, let me tell you something. First of all, I think Fox is trash. So I don't listen to Fox News. I think Fox is like, from an intelligence standpoint, I think there are few people on there that is worth listening to, but overall as a network, I think most of their news is trash. Let me just be honest with you. So straight up. So I'm not even basing it on Fox. I'm basing it on independent other news sources that are out there that bring clarity to the other argument. I'm not saying their arguments are right, but what I'm saying is that when you're hearing a narrative and you're hearing people, so what you're saying is what I'm hearing on a CNN or a MSNBC. So I live in that world of debate. I'm an apologist, right? So I will sometimes debate people on religion, whether it's, Christianity, Muslims, Islam, whatever the case may be. So I'm used to people being able to strongman my argument, which means that if you strongman my argument, you could be able to take, even though you don't believe in my argument, you could argue my position and tell me what my position is, even though you don't believe it. So the problem is right now, we can't, as individuals, especially as Black men, when we can't strongman another position, that means that we don't know the whole position. We just know the narrative in which we've been shaped in, and it could be based on ideology, based upon what we believe. Okay, we just believe in the principles that somebody's pushing over here. But even if you do that, you still got to be able to strongman somebody else's position. You got to be able to say, wait a minute, okay, well, I know your arguments, and I know your arguments. The problem is that we don't know the arguments on the other side, and that's the problem. So when I hear what you're saying, I hear the Dodge situation, but my question is, do you really know the arguments for what the institutions, like, for example, what Elon Musk, what Vic Ramaswamy have gotten together in their interviews and the arguments that they're presenting as to how they're going to approach it and why they're going to do it, so you can listen independently without somebody else. Now, that doesn't mean you got to believe what they're saying, but you understand their argument and their positions, because then you can come back and you can kind of say, okay, I could poke holes in what you're saying. But what we're doing is we're casting our lots without knowing the other side.
Okay,
I found myself doing that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I hear Elon Musk and Donald Trump having their conversation, and they talk about how not to pay people for overtime pay, I believe what they're saying, because now a Texas judge has said he blocked the Biden administration from protections for overtime pay. You understand? So when you hear them say they'll do everything they can to not pay people for overtime work, then you believe them, because that's what they've been doing for years. You understand? So that's my position. When I hear them say that, it's concerning because I get paid for overtime pay. You understand? So that's a position I take and say, you know what? For my ideology, I'm a principled person.
Mm-hmm.
I am not morally bankrupt. I have morals. I have ethics. You know? So you don't care about the average person when you say, I do my best to not pay you overtime. So someone who goes in for a hard day's work, you're going to make them work an additional 2 or 3 days and not pay them overtime.
Yeah, but you're saying that, Craig, and I don't know the context. So I mean, so once again,
you can look it up. You can look it up. They talked about it. They talked about it in their conversation. The one they had Elon Musk and Trump about 2 months ago. They talked about this. And then if you look up, the Biden administration put in protections for overtime workers, and then the Texas judge, Republican judge in Texas, blocked it. So now the people in Texas, because he put this and blocked this in place, they will not get paid for overtime work. That's what I'm saying.
So I'm gonna visit that situation with you and do my homework on it. I'm gonna do my homework on it.
So when I hear things, I look it up, man. See, here's the thing. I don't look at MSNBC. I don't look at CNN. I definitely don't look at Fox because they've already told you they're not a news source. They're just entertainment. You know, I don't look at any of these channels. What I do is I research and I look at different avenues. And I form an opinion based on my beliefs and what's there, what's pragmatic. You know, I don't postulate what's pragmatic.
Well, I'm gonna test you. I'm gonna test you on that. I'm gonna test you on that. In good faith, I'm gonna test you on that. I'm gonna see.
Man. Yeah, I just bought my popcorn. I'd say a point of, I guess, honesty and self-reflection here. When Donald Trump said we have to fight like hell, at the time he said it, I did not connect that to there's going to be violence and turmoil. What happened on January 6th? My honest response was, what does that mean? I had no idea. Now we connect it because it's after the fact. January 6th already happened. Oh, no, he said fight like hell. Oh, we're treating it like Trump wanted them to be violent. Mm-hmm. But then use the words violence. He said fight like hell. Now that may be a possibility. Another possibility is you had some folk who just thought we're just going to have to fight this in the court. We're going to have to march in protests, and then you had some people who are less moral to think we're going to do whatever we got to do. And the result was violence.
Yeah, and so what happens is, this is what I say, the spin happens. Because if anything else, because I looked at that whole thing that happened that when Trump lost, and I was happy he lost. Let me just be honest with you. I was happy he lost, but I was listening to the spin though, because by that time now I'm used to the spin. By that time I'm out of the Democratic lockhold, the strongholds, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing, okay, well, yeah, I've seen plenty of what do you call, not boycotts, but what do they call it? It's another word they use for when people are tearing, like when they were doing stuff in New York City, doing the blackouts, there was, or when
rioting.
Okay, that was a riot, but I watched them take the riot, put it in the spin cycle, and came out with an insurrection. How you gonna have an insurrection and you ain't got no military behind you? There is no such thing as no insurrection without no military. Military comes with insurrection. Insurrection means there's real war going on and you're fighting. We know what insurrections is in other countries, but we just put insurrection in the spin cycle. Now, there was a riot. He probably had something to do with the riot. He probably promoted the riot. They could have, whatever the case may be. But I'm talking about to the end in which they go. And what I'm saying is to the end to go to spin something. And now everybody's talking about the insurrection. Where's the insurrection? What are you talking about? That was a riot.
Well, here's
That's
the
all it
thing.
is, a riot. And listen, and there's charges against rioting. There's still criminal activity in rioting. There's still other things in that nature. But you see what it is you got to kick that up a notch and you got to turn it into something that's not. Because we all know in the regular world, we know what an insurrection is.
Well, here's the thing. Their narrative was to overthrow. So when you're told we have to go fight like hell for me to basically stay in here, that's overthrow.
How you gonna overthrow
No. Let's be real.
What you're saying.
Let's be real. When you tell someone let's fight like hell because they cheated me, I need to be the one that's in here. I'm not leaving this White House. So let's make sure I don't have to leave this White House. So let's fight like hell. That's what those. And then, not to mention, did you hear even more about it? Because I read.
Well, Craig, what you're saying is inciting.
Have the money to be there. A lot of people who didn't have the money to be there were actually given money to be at this place.
Craig, what you're saying is inciting. What you're saying is inciting a riot.
Right. Okay. Now again,
that's not an insurrection.
No. Let's look at this. Someone got killed. The young lady got gunned down.
That's a riot. That happens in riots.
Right. If you know this, they're saying that basically, and you know that if Trump is saying let's go there and fight like hell, you're inciting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So I'm telling people to go in there and one gets killed, what happens? That person who incited it, who sent them there, should have been penalized.
Okay.
For that.
Fine.
But what I'm saying is when I heard the comment, I asked, what does that mean? How many of y'all thought legitimately when you heard him say that you said to yourself, there's going to be a riot?
I didn't think that when I first heard it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now after the fact,
but I also heard him say
he did incite a riot. That's inciting a riot.
Stand back and stand by.
Yeah.
So Craig.
Yeah. I heard that too.
Check it out. I know you itching over there. I know you itching. but check it out. You gotta own this. There's a distinction between rioting and insurrection.
Of course.
We know insurrection in other countries. We know what this country does when they're trying to prop up a leader in another country. We fund them with weapons. We do the things that's necessary so they can fight, so they can overthrow and topple regimes. We know what insurrections is.
Okay. Now, question.
So why did we go? Now you're right. Everything that you said that Trump did or made, you could probably try to levy a case against him, but it's still a riot.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Did they try to overthrow the government?
Hey, with an insurrection?
No. Understand now. Did they try? What was their narrative? What was their objective?
Okay, listen. If you think you're going to overthrow the American government, the United States military,
National Guard.
Come on, man. Come on. Listen, you got to be realistic with some of this stuff.
He held back the National Guard. They kept telling him, even his advisors told him, come on, release the National Guard. He held back.
Why are you trying to sprinkle fairy dust? Why are you trying to sprinkle fairy dust? Insurrection fairy dust.
This is fact. He held back the National Guard. He would not. And Nancy Pelosi, everyone was upset. Even Schumer and what's his name? The one that looked like a frog. Lord forgive me. I'm sorry. Not like a frog. My bad.
Hey, man.
Talking about Jamie Raskin?
Yeah.
Raskin?
No, the Republican leader in the Senate, McConnell.
McConnell
even said, you know what I'm saying? They have them all on tape. So again, the question is, what was their objective?
I don't think listen, their objective may have been a few people in there may have thought they was overthrowing something. Right. That's not really what it is.
Right.
I'll respond this way, and maybe it's in the center. There were individuals that wanted to overthrow the government, but they never got together and organized their efforts.
They never had direction. They never.
Everybody wanted to do the same thing.
They never demonstrated the military capability and all of the things that we would consider to be an insurrectionist.
Yeah.
So my
There was
point
one
was
group,
this.
which equals
there was
riot.
one group that did. There was one group that
makes
did.
it a
They
riot.
came in like paramilitary.
Mhm.
You know, they're walking up the stairs. They were dressed in fatigues and so forth and so on, and they're doing time right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're
And
actually one group that actually did believe that they had the capability.
I don't know whether it was a group or some. I don't believe it was a group or some individuals, because what I'm saying is that when you show up, if they showed up and they had, like, for example, 60, 70 people, and they had it planned out, and you could see what they were doing. Like, when it don't take, even when we send the SEALs in and other people in other nations, when you got groups coming in, they do damage. They're gonna do damage. They're gonna take people out. They're going to be effective in what they're doing. There's no way in the world that you got these paramilitary groups that are actually in different places in the United States coming in there full throttle doing that. What I'm saying to you is this. Here's my point. The Democratic Party, I'm talking about the party. I'm not talking about Democrats, people. The Democrat Party is hijacked by liberals, and what they do is they put the spin. That's why the ratings on a lot of these networks is going down. That's why they're looking at shifting people. That's why a lot of the shows like The View with Sonny and all of those other people, all of the stuff, all that stuff is a house of cards getting ready to tumble, because because the Democrats lost because we lost the party. And that's my point. My point is that supporting it wasn't supporting. It's not like locally here, you could support the Democrats, Kevin and all the other people that were going over, because that's sound. But because you don't have a lot of liberals in the South Carolina area just pushing liberal agendas, that stuff is not going to get pushed down here. We're in the South, and most blacks in the South are conservative. So I think that when you see that washing machine open, and they took Riot, they threw Riot in there, they poured some bleach in there, and threw some and washed that thing up and put it through the spin cycle and pulled it out, is an insurrection.
All right, D, 5 minutes. Final words. I know you got to go at 7. Let's get your final words, D.
I didn't have my final words. I'll wait for Craig to go. And then,
Craig, go ahead, man. Craig is so touching. Final words, baby. Final thought.
Hey, I'll say this. Perception is reality. And when you see with your eyes what was going on at the Capitol, and you begin to understand the severity of it, when people are getting hurt, getting trampled, getting killed, we no longer lend to, oh, this is just your average riot. We have to put a the extreme level on that. Mm-hmm. And so when we just say a riot, people are thinking, oh yeah, they're just like, rioting in Oklahoma or whatever have you that happened with George Floyd.
Right.
But when you have it where people were organized, and they were, and I was just looking up, it was one gentleman with a patch. He's serving a lot of time right now, but it was a paramilitary group, just like the one that was in Chicago, that was going after the Chicago governor, I think is her name, Whitmer. They actually went over, planned this out, so forth and so on. Just so happened one of them, turned. So I look at that and say, your words matter. So when someone who's a leader of I'm not going to say the words of certain ideology, people tend to follow it no matter what and however extreme. And just like yourself, Darryl, when you said you came out of that Democratic fog, there were people that came out of that MAGA, as they say, realm. And they came out clear-eyed saying, what in the world was I thinking? People told me, but I had these blinders on, and I just went with it because it felt good to me at the time. You understand? So I think that people need to actually look within themselves, grasp an understanding of your principles, your morals, and what you believe in. and understand that what's right and wrong. You know, they always say where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, there's a heck of a lot of smoke around Donald Trump. There's a heck of a lot of smoke around the extreme on both sides. You know, it's like a horseshoe. Everyone says they want to get to the same point, but everyone had their own way of getting there. You know, so they go further and further away. Now, I can say this, and I've seen it because I read bills. If a Democrat puts a bill in place that helps the people, the Republicans will say no because that's going to make you look good. If the Republicans put a bill in place that helps the people, the Democrats will follow along because, hey, it's helping the people. I've seen this. I've witnessed it. For one, when people who was getting those checks who thought they was the best thing since sliced bread, the Democrats could have easily said, no, we're not going to do that. You know, but they realized people needed money. When Biden came in and they said, all right, let's do another one, the Republicans quickly jump off board because they say it would make Biden look good. Democrats did it for Trump, but it would make Biden look good. So when I see things like that, I have issues with that. That tells me that you check your morals at the door. You're morally bankrupt. In order for you to do your job, you check your morals, principles at the door and then come into work. I have a problem with that. Just do what's right.
So one of the things, let me just kind of respond to that real quick.
Oh, no, Darryl, you said you were finished.
No, I have to respond to that real quick. I posted in the chat, the largest riot in American history was the 1992 riot, and everybody know about Rodney King. So that was the largest riot in American history. Property damage, over 205 deaths, 1 billion people in property damage. That's a riot. It's still a riot. And so I want to just frame it out. And you talked about morals and values and things of that nature. And I'll just say this at the end. I'm a pastor, and I do believe in the morals and the values, but and I may be throwing some biblical things in here. You know, when it came to war, morality, while their moral dictates about what we do in war, the moral reason for going to war sometimes predicates that we got to put some of the moral things that we would typically do aside because we got to go fight. The full fight, because when you dropping bombs on people, you're killing men, women, and children. You're killing innocent lives. They're casualties of war. And one of the things about being in the military, when they put a weapon in your hand and you're going overseas, we got soldiers going overseas. You can't talk to them about morals, even though they're going to get judged on morally how they deal with captures of war. But when you're shooting at somebody and you're throwing bombs and you're doing some of the things, when you see some of the stuff that Obama has done and some of the things that they point out with the drones that he has had, there's a lot of moral issues that we as a country have to be faced with. And there's a lot of things that if you look at the United States on a whole, if you look at how we do business, how we conduct our affairs, the economics of how we're functioning right now with Social Security, morality, we can have the argument about morality, but this whole system is unjust. So when you're going in, if you're going into some savages, and I'll take this from somebody who said this, I can't remember who said it. If you're going in dealing with people who are savages, aren't you going to send a savage in there to deal with them? Or you going to send somebody in that morally, because they're going to kill that person. Nobody's going to go in. That doesn't work. You're not going to go do missionary work when you're at war and people are savages in the way they're doing. So I get what you're saying, and there's a place for it, but there's a time for it. There's a time for it. And you got to look at the system right now, and you got to be able to see that's one of the disparities that we have, that, yeah, our compassion is great. But when it comes time to go to war, when it comes time to topple regimes, to break down institutions and strongholds that are holding people, that are blinding people, that are creating disparity before we even get immigrants coming in this country. There's people that rightfully so just want to see America become something new. They want to see this country get toppled down because they don't believe in the system. They believe the whole system is corrupt. And so we keep tinkering with it, with morality, the right thing. But at the end of the day, everybody knew that Joe Biden wasn't going to do the right thing. He was going to do the thing that was self-serving for him. Because even as a pastor, I'm not going to let my son hang out there.
There's a time
for no reason. I'm gonna take care. I'm gonna take care of mine. I'm gonna take care of them.
You hold that thought because let's save that for next week. Soul Touch. Final thoughts. Got 5 minutes.
Okay.
Well, insurrection, riot, whatever. Their intent was their intent. Their intent was stopping the election from going through. And I mean, when you go in there with that type of intent, that's an attempt to overthrow the government. They have to have weapons, this, that, and the other. They said they wanted to kill certain people. These people were responsible for counting, validating votes. I mean, you know, we can, I think when you look at it, there's a place where I kind of identify the traditional term of a riot. However, when you are storming the Capitol building of a government in a country, that's leaning more towards insurrection to me, not just a typical riot where you're fighting law enforcement, you're fighting the system. So I can't call that a simple riot. When you look at Rodney King, you look at George Floyd, you look at the civil rights things, you know, they were trying to fight for something. Here, they were trying to fight an election from happening. So, I mean, we can paint it to whatever we want. We can call it a riot. However, they were trying to stop an election from going forward. To me, that is an insurrection.
Man, one more thing, Daryl. You look like, I have to tell you, you look like Denzel Washington when he played in what's the name of the movie? When he was blind.
Ready?
Huh?
Ready?
Huh? No, when he was blind.
Book of Eli.
Book of Eli.
Book of Eli.
Yeah.
I knew you've heard that before.
Hey, Vic, what's your final thoughts, baby?
My final thoughts. Thank you, Daryl, for coming onto the show and sharing with us. Certainly some more things worth discussing further and more in depth in the future. Gotta have you back. I just want to hear you guys keep talking and keep. That's why I didn't say a whole lot today because y'all were cooking and. But I will tell you, it's coming towards the end of the year. It's December. It's when my final thoughts. It is the Christmas season, and I tell you, you know, every year there's always seems to be like one issue that can be so divisive and can cause much arguing and confusion. But I just want people to remember that as we go into this Christmas season, to remember that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
You a damn lie.
It's not. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
I don't care what you say. I just told my wife that last week.
Vic, you took your last word. Excalibur off.
Nope, it's not Christmas movie. Just because it happened
when I come back, Ernie, next y'all gonna be on next week?
Yeah, next week, next Thursday.
Next week.
Make sure y'all make sure y'all send me the link, and I'm bringing my chef hat and my chef apron. And I'm gonna be cooking Craig. Get you to get in that pot, bro. I'm gonna put you in that pot.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody for liking, subscribing to the show. We definitely going to do this next week. Again, this is why I have Craig and Soul Touch on the show. They're my political guys. I'm learning from all three of you brothers. Yeah. There, I'm learning from everybody, man. Hey, thank you guys. Everyone that support, thank you. Everyone that don't support, thank you. I still love you guys. See you guys next week. Peace.
Stay on, Vic. Y'all stay on.